Healthy living, creating a life of abundance, experiencing freedom and peace. These all come from self-mastery. Welcome to the Life by Design Institute podcast, where we tie together spirit and science to build your personal foundation. Now, here's your host, Dr. Will Miller.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Life by Design Institute podcast. Man, I'm happy to be back after all of the everything that's been going on and what we've been having to live with in the world. And, today I want to talk about some things we can do to kind of bring ourselves out of, part of what we've been in. We're stuck in this matrix, if you will, and we're stuck in this life that has been designed for us and that we've created, actually. And what we want to do is just give you some ideas of how do we escape the matrix? How do we get out of it? And how do we create this life of endless possibility? And what can we do? So what I want to do as we get started today, and first of all, I want to thank my producer, Sean, for being here and taking care of me and making sure that things are happening right here in the studio. And I want to start off, what is the matrix? A lot of people call it the matrix, so I adopt that word from time to time. I really, myself, like to call it the grand illusion that we've created, that we live in. We all live in an illusion. And as I start off the day, I'm going to refer to some quotes as I go throughout the day, and I may have to grab my phone to find and make sure I read them correctly. But I want to just start off with a quote from Nikola Tesla. He says, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." And as we go through what we talk about today, I want you to think about that quote. The secrets of the universe lie in frequency and vibration. They really do. Everything around us is energy, including ourselves. We all, our bodies, this table I'm sitting at, my computer in front of me, the chair, the mics, the lights, everything in here are all mass at a different frequency. And photons of light run at a different frequency. Things without mass are still just energy at a different frequency. So think about that as we talk about this illusion or this matrix that I want to explain to you. So we're all born into this life with parents and people around us who are part of our birth and raising us and growing, and we take in what they give us. So by the time we're age 3 or 4 and we're cognitively starting to learn from those around us, they teach us based upon what they were conditioned to believe, what their parents taught them, what our aunt and uncles were taught, what our brothers and sisters were taught. And what we do is we take into this process of conditioning what they teach us is real. And let me give you a big, kind of wide example of that. If I was born, I was adopted. So if I was born I was adopted to a family. I was about a month and a half old when I was adopted. But had I been adopted into a family, say, in China, and gone to China, lived my life up until, a few years ago in China, learning the traditions, the belief systems, what my parents there felt and believed in and thought, the way the world should be, I would probably now in the United States be a totally different person with a totally different belief structure than I am currently because of the family I was adopted into. You see, we're all born into illusion where we're conditioned to live a life based on the perception of a few. And I'm going to take that even further in a minute. Because when I say a few, I mean a few. Because our parents and those we learn from, and their parents and those they learn from, really were conditioned to be part of a world or a perception, because information creates perception, of that world as well. And really the world as a whole now has moved and is moving very quickly into living all the same perception, as opposed to many different perceptions as the world becomes one, and becomes a world order, if you will. And it's sometimes rough to use that word because I'll catch some flack for it. But as the world starts to be governed, not only from behind the scenes, but in front of the scenes as one world. And that's for another show to go into great detail on that, but we'll talk about that more in a later show. So everything you perceive or believe as reality comes from our conditioning. And you, at a certain age, as you grow up, you start to take in your own beliefs, or at least hopefully we do. You know, most of us just go into the bookshelf and we reach up and we grab this belief and we open the book and now belongs to us. We don't do any research. We don't do our own research. We don't fill it in our own heart. We just go about believing it, and we'll die for it. Many people do die for it. And without any thought of the fact that we control our own lives, that we have the ability to change what we do, think, and feel, just by doing some simple things. And before we're done today, I really hopefully have time in the time we have left to cover the 5 things we can do to all break the matrix. And really, if we can all do this, we'll change the world. Completely, wholly change the world. So as we go through life, we get information. We pull the books off our shelves from those around us, what we learn, what we see, what we do, and we create from the information given a belief. We create perceptions, which becomes really our self-image. Another example of that, an extreme example would be someone who maybe in high school is told they're fat. And they look in the mirror and they see a fat person. And you know what? They can be 90 pounds in a hospital bed with an IV in their arm, and you cannot get them to believe they are not fat. That is how strong our mind is. That is how strong our belief systems become. Most of what we see around us is just an illusion we've created. And you know what? Everybody has a different story. So what do? We have to change the information input in order to change the perception, in order to change the belief and what happens to us on a daily basis. It's the only way we can do it. And let me talk about how deep, how long this conditioning's been going on. It's not just nowadays. Now, in this world we live in, it's stronger, harder, faster, more sophisticated than it ever has been. But it started a long time ago. You know, religion and the churches used to be the speakers of what we were conditioned to believe. And when we stopped believing those and started questioning those beliefs, then the news media and the TV and science became the new ways for us to be conditioned. Take this book off the shelf and believe it. Why? Because I told you. Don't do any research. Don't think on your own. But just believe what I've told you. So let me give you some examples. The average person in the United States watches 4 hours of television each day. In 1 year, that's roughly 35,000 ads, commercials, social medias, billboards, newspapers, magazines, etc. 35,000 ads you see in a year. Most are produced by the highest paid cognitive psychologists in the world. Those marketing companies don't hire just people off the street. They hire the highest paid cognitive psychologists to create ads for us in the world. Their job is to grab our attention, make us feel what? Not adequate, not efficient, not think on your own, but look, here's what you should be, and it's not good enough. That's what they do. So, in a day in and day out, 35,000 times a year, we're being conditioned, hypnotized, if you will, to see ourselves as not having, being, or doing enough. Why? They're trying to create consumers, right? They want us to have a very narrow focus. Don't go outside of this focus, because what happens when we do? We start to question. And the world, the few cannot control the many if the many start to question what is going on. So we are enslaved, if you will, into looking a very narrow focus. And you know what? They'll do about anything they can to keep your focus narrow. And they do that because the minute we start to question, the minute we start to look outside of the matrix in which we live, we actually become self-sufficient. And the last thing they want is us to feel self-sufficient. So the first thing we need to learn to do is question everything. And I'm going to look up on my phone here real quick, just a quote by Osho that I wanted to read for everybody today, just so you could understand kind of what I'm talking about. This is from Osho, and he says, "The greatest fear in the world is the opinion of others. And the moment you are unafraid of the crowd, you are no longer a sheep. You become a lion. A great roar arises from your heart." See, we're not conditioned to be lions. We're conditioned to be sheep. And the first thing we need to do to break the matrix, as I talk about these 5 things today, is we need to learn to question everything, especially our own thoughts. Why? Because now we've taken so many books off the shelves from the people that have told us how and what to believe and what we should think and what we should do, and made that our beliefs, that our head spends most of its time lying to us. Because it only understands, it is connected to our physical side. It's connected to the side that says, well, this is what I've been taught, therefore this is what is. It's what's created the illusion for ourselves. It's what's created everything that is sending us sideways in the world today. It's why we all feel so disconnected through all of what's going on right now. Because we know in our hearts, and we're going to talk about that in detail in just a minute, that this is not true. This is not what really is. This is not how it should be. But our heads are so stuck in our conditioning, so stuck in the illusion, and that fear overtakes us, and we don't dare step out of the illusion. So start to question everything. We need to change our current conditioning, look around, and see how you really want to live. Is this how you really want to live? What's going on in the world today? Let me ask you, is this how you really want to live? Gosh, I hope not, right? So perception is just a frequency. It's given to us through external frequency bands. So when you're given something, if I tell you something, please look it up, research it. Research it for yourself. See if it's true. Find the truth within yourself. We have the ability to learn for ourselves. We have the ability to question everything. We should be questioning everything. We should be finding the truth within us, not without us. Truth doesn't come from without us. It comes from within us. So we need to create our own beliefs, our own way of thinking. So learn, first of all and foremost, to question everything. Truth, I've always said, truth is not taught. It's learned. It resides within us. So find your truth. Question everything. Number 2, accept others' perceptions. You know what? We all live our own story. I live a totally different story than you. I was brought up totally differently to believe certain different things. I've pulled books off the shelf. I've got my own beliefs. And you know what? Sitting in a crowd yelling and protesting, we could end all of this without one missile being fired, without one bullet being fired, or without one protest. If we just do these 5 things, everybody has their own perception. Everybody is entitled to their own perception and belief. Once you start accepting that that's just that person's story, I'm going to do the research. I'm going to find out for myself what I believe. I'm not going to judge anymore. I'm just going to love them for who they are. So do the research. Accept others. Accept what they say. Great. That's your story. You know what? I may take some of that for myself. You know why? Because I'm going to do the research and find it for myself. We are all the same consciousness, people, living a different perception. We're all connected. Like it or not, we are connected. We're just living a different perception. We're here for different experiences. Great. They get a different experience than me. I get to accept that. Others are living their own illusion. You know what? This is the best way for us to learn compassion. Learn compassion by accepting others' perceptions and opinions. It's okay. It's okay. We don't have to be censored. We don't have to be censored. Things we say don't have to not be said to someone else. You know why? Because it's okay. And once you learn that compassion, the world starts to change. So what's the third thing we can do? Heart-centered meditation. This is where we're from. And those that can see me on camera maybe can see that I'm coming from my heart. This is where we live, really. This is what's connected to spirit. Our head, our mind, it's really we've got a right and a left brain. And one side of our brain is very connected to that belief system, that logic, and is unchanging. The other side of the brain will listen to the heart, is connected to the heart, but the heart whispers the truth. What happens is our brain's chatter tries to overcome the truth. And you hear things like, was that from your heart? Don't listen to your heart, listen to your brain. Your heart's just going to hurt you. You hear all these kinds of things growing up. And what you need to understand is really, it's our heart. Our heart contains over 40,000 neurons. It has neurons just like the brain does that connects. And its energy field goes further out than any other. It's been measured, any energy field from our body. Our heart does. If you look at the energy centers of the body, what in certain parts of the world they call your chakras. And this heart is the center of those. The heart is what brings everything together. So as we meditate, as we go into our heart, I have a therapist friend, and when he talks to someone, he always asks them, tell me what's going on in your opinion from what your head is telling you. And then when they're done with that story, he says, now tell me from your heart what your heart is telling you, the same story. And he says it's almost like he hears the story from 2 different people. Think about that for a minute. We need to learn to get out of our head and get into our heart. Remember, our heart whispers the truth. It's what connects us to our higher self. Our head is what is stuck in this illusion, is what's stuck in this matrix. It is what makes us see what we see around us that isn't even happening or isn't even necessarily real. Our heart will whisper the truth. We need to learn to listen. It's part of that. Be willing to listen to other perceptions. It's also be willing to listen to the perceptions from yourself, and be willing to take that in and live it. All right, so number 4, and I really, and every one of these subjects I could spend the whole 30 minutes I have on it, but in the interest of time, we're running down here, so I'm going to try and get through these. And, of course, as we go on, we'll talk about these in greater detail and be happy to answer your questions. Number 4, be open to new possibilities. We are living, people, in the stone age of possibility. We think we have all these possibilities because of technology. No, we're living in the stone age of possibility. Why? Because as time goes on, as we've grown as a human race, as a human being, we've actually are becoming more and more censored to what we believe. Our box is becoming smaller and smaller. It's not becoming bigger. We're being narrowed in, tighter and tighter. And I really do believe the more people I see, the more people that I see are awakening around me. I see a big awakening as I talk to people now. People are tired of this. They're tired of the box being tightened and censored and lowered. I can tell you, our politicians, it doesn't matter who wins, because nothing big is going to change, because we are all, including them, in this box, tightened in by the few, which we'll go into in a later show in great detail, because I'm happy to talk about who those few are and what we can do to get out of this matrix completely. So be open to new possibilities. Expand your perpetual state beyond your current limits. See beyond the labels you're given. You know, everybody goes around living as I am a something. I am a white person. I am a black person. I am a Christian. I am not a Christian. I am, a believer in this or a believer in that. Let go of the I am a. I am. We all are. We all are part of the same. There's a quantum field, a field of possibilities where all possibilities lie. And as you get into your heart-centered meditation, as you start to learn that way of living, and you spend 10 minutes every morning and 10 minutes every night just thinking about how grateful you are and connecting to that quantum field, all of a sudden possibilities start to open up to you. You start to feel differently in your heart. I'm now thinking with my heart. And I start to see people in a whole different light. I understand they have their own stories. You know what? I love them for it. It changes the way we think. Knowing that, I couldn't yell at someone else. All I can do is love them for their story. All I can do is love them for where they're at. Right? So lastly, the last thing I want to kind of cover in the last couple of minutes we've got today is choose wisely the information you allow in. Don't go take the book off the shelf just because that book is the one you were given and say, this is the truth. I know it's the truth. This is what's happening. As you research, as people tell you things, as you watch the news, as you watch the crap on the internet, and it gets more and more censored, you choose. You choose what you allow in. And when you allow it in, ask your heart, what is the truth? Because you know what? It'll whisper it to you. It'll tell you. And you'll feel it. You'll feel it. And once you feel it, you can make the decisions you need to make. Understand you're an infinite being within an infinite universe. Ask yourself as you're questioning, who has what to gain from the information that's been given you? I can tell you, if it's not us as a whole, if it's us being put into a box, it's the wrong information. You shouldn't be accepting that. And you know what? Most of the information we're given is to keep us in this box, not allow us infinite possibilities, not allow us an infinite life. I always like to tell people, the mind makes a good servant, but it is a poor master. It really is not the master. Your heart's the master, and your mind is the servant. So take these 5 things, put them into your daily practice, ask the questions, accept others' perceptions, do heart-centered meditation, 10 minutes every morning, 10 minutes every night. Get into your heart, get out of your head, and start thinking with your heart. Start thinking and being open to new possibilities. And then choose the information you allow in. Get rid of the daily news. Get rid of the chatter in your life. Get rid of the chatter in your head. Get rid of the junk that everybody's trying to give you, and find your own truths. Once we all do that, once we have that, this world will change for all of us. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for listening to the Life by Design Institute podcast with Dr. Will Miller, building the foundation for healthy living, ultimate abundance, freedom, and peace. For more information, go to lifebydesign.institute. Dr. William J. Miller has had an intuitive gift from a young age. Putting his energies to good use, he started his first successful business at the age of 17. His entrepreneurial journey has led him in building several multi-million-dollar businesses, which he continues to this day. Through his unique understanding of frequency and energy, Will has built businesses into successful and productive companies and helped thousands of people create success and understand their divine purpose in life. As an accomplished speaker, researcher, and transformational coach, Will has developed spiritual-based and personal business coaching programs. In addition, Will continues to speak at organizational events, as a guest on radio shows, and as a lecturer at universities. Dr. Will's focus is helping all those he encounters to understand and to live their divine nature.